As a certified life coach, I have a mission for my clients, and that is to identify and remove roadblocks from your path to personal success. A topic I am particularly passionate about is attachment styles and how I can get to know myself better. Welcome to Becoming Secure with Mike's Mindset.
In the past episodes, I've prioritized elaborating on my story and painting somewhat of a picture of what brought me to today. One could say that I became somewhat obsessive over personal development and pushing the bar of my own expectations of what I can and cannot accomplish. But there is a deeper reason as to why this means so much to me. For as long as I can remember, I have dreamt of my wedding day and building a marriage. I've always sought out to romantic connections and craved true and loving intimacy. I've had 4 long and truly meaningful relationships, which I am tremendously grateful for, but clearly I'm not satisfied because I'm single, aren't I? Call me a pick-me girl, but not being chosen is a major wound of mine. I have yet to experience being a man's priority and choice. Because of this, I have had to venture inwards. What is it about the frequency that I ride on that make me attract avoidant men who won't commit for the long haul? Is it me? Is it a societal thing? Are we moving so far away from tradition as a generation that people no longer value the commitment and the marriage? These are things I am reflecting over on a daily because it's crucial that I understand this in order to accomplish my goal. This is when I started to pray to God to inspire me to be the type of woman who attracts a husband, a man with character, which is not intimidated by my honest and direct communication, someone who knows how to self-regulate and is capable of taking the time that it takes to truly to get to know someone and commit to navigating the highs and the lows of romantic relationship. I'm done shrinking myself to fit a space a man can handle me in. I never asked for too much, but a past relationship led me to believe that what I wanted, a committed marriage and a family, was almost unrealistic in today's society, and that I was surely too clingy. Learning about attachment styles educated me on these types of dynamics, and I quickly learned that I was operating on a frequency that attracted an avoidant level of intimacy. But why? I like to look at attachment styles on an XY axis with a bell curve as demonstrated on the picture attached on the cover photo. You got the securely attached in the middle, with the avoidant and the anxious in each respective extreme on the x-axis. On the topmost point of the bell curve is on the y-axis is the secure frequency where avoidant and anxious frequencies goes downward and throughout each respective extremes. Avoidant and anxious people attract each other, although they exist on complete opposite points of the x-axis. They operate on the exact same frequency. The only thing that I believe can increase your frequency from anxious or avoidant to secure is by learning about yourself and healing your wounds. If you skip the process of healing, you'll be right back to attracting another avoidant and repeat the cycle that we are finding ourselves in. Reflecting back on my relationship with my anti-committal ex brings a lot of mixed feelings. Looking back, knowing what I tolerated and started to believe as truth about myself breaks my heart for my younger self. The complexity of situations like this is that it's a massive gray area, because these relationships are never just bad. They often bring a major level of compassion and romance, but with a glass ceiling that was hit way too early in my personal preference. Yet knowing I was unhappy and that my needs were unmet, I couldn't detach from that connection for the life of me. A relationship that easily could have ended after month 3 ended 3 years later. Being so obsessively attached to the idea of what a person could become for me was one of the most painful journeys I have ventured on. Although I had spent years building unwavering confidence and building my character through positive affirmations of senses of accomplishments, I was perfectly capable of completely losing myself to a relationship. just to be forced to build myself up again, piece by piece, by slowly detaching. In this dynamic, I found myself attracting a far extreme avoidant that triggered every far extreme anxiety in me. It required significant knowledge on attachment styles and the ability to be a sponge who took in all the information, able to make new decisions, to break the habitual pattern I had unconsciously been following my whole life. With knowledge came the ability to becoming more secure, one right decision at a time. But this process is long. It is not easy. It is humbling to a complete breaking point where I hit rock bottom. At one point in the summer of 2023, after a significant number of on again, off again attempts of my ex and I found myself on the phone with my mom halfway across the world from her, begging her to let me go, to just let me end it all. It was the lowest point of my life. From there, I had nothing to lose, and I had no choice but to trust the process. I can't imagine what it must have felt like for my poor mom to sit on the other side of the world hearing me in such deep, emotional, wrecking pain. It must have devastated her, and she must have felt powerless. And that too is something that I want to acknowledge about the hurt and the danger of staying in this anxious attachment, is that we're not only hurting ourselves, we're hurting people around us because we are putting value in places that they don't belong. We need to learn to detach, not only for ourselves, but so that we can build great connections with others that are healthy for not only ourselves, but the people that we surround ourselves with. I know that it's hard, but 2 steps forward and 1 step back is still progress. Clearly, my mom was never going to agree to such things, so she did what any compassionate and loving mom would. She spent every waking minute on the phone with me, walking me through every day. I remember waking up in the morning, catching my breath, already crying. It was the most painful place I have ever found myself. But one day at a time, with undeniable support from my mom and my friends, I was able to build myself up again by utilizing the tools I knew would work because it had worked before. Daily affirmations became daily practice again. Sitting in silence, befriending my pain, became a daily practice. One disciplined choice at a time, I was able to get comfortable with discomfort again, and not to mention the unknown. In that relationship, the worst thing that could have happened to me was that we broke up. Today, the worst thing that can happen to me is being in the wrong relationship again. The moral of the story is that personal development and building character is a constant journey, and I am still utilizing the tool I developed 8 years ago. It's a constant practice. Feelings are fleeting, moments are fleeting, life is fleeting, and what we can do about it is to accept it for truth and learn how to navigate and embrace every fleeting emotion that control our decision-making process. Learning how to regulate impulsive decisions and not let it bleed into our connections is a work of art. Recognizing that I alone am fully responsible for creating my own happiness and navigating my experience in my mind and body. No one else is coming to save you. You alone are responsible for you. Bringing it back to the axis. On the second y-axis, you have the ability to take in information and utilize the knowledge to climb the security ladder. Right now, I find myself at that black line. It was at this point that I had outgrown my ex. It was here I could no longer relate to him, nor respect his choice. It was here I was able to cut contact completely. And it was 100% necessary to fully detach from him and the idea I had created about what we could be. You learn about attachment theory so that you can utilize the information and use it as tools to move to a higher version of yourself. A version who doesn't make yourself small to fit the reality of what commitment looks like. A version who knows what they want and don't give in to anything less. A version of me who is able to recognize that if my needs aren't met, they simply are not the one. A version of me who recognizes that I'm not the problem, not too clingy, not asking for too much. Someone who does not settle for less than what I desire from a committed relationship. A relationship where I am valued and prioritized. My goal is to be a woman who attracts a husband, and attachment theory is allowing this to happen for me. At least so I believe. There's a major responsibility in that, because when you reach the black line, you are still an individual capable of being triggered and falling into old pattern behaviors. But it's here I also recognize the choices I have to make to reach the topmost secure point. I am fully capable of getting there, one decision at a time. So are you, if you want to, and dare face and navigate your triggers. The mistake we often make as anxious, attached individuals is that we put our partner on a pedestal they have no business being on. We forget to humanize them and believe them, and only them can be the one. We mistake triggers for sparks and fireworks and over-adore the connection. A securely attached individual is able to face both intimacy and the risk of heartbreak, level-headed and no fear. They dare falling in love, and they also dare sitting in the potential grief should the person in front of them desire to walk away or simply not be the greatest match. They are able to trust themselves to do what's best for them both selfishly and morally. They know when to stay and when to walk away. They are also kind to themselves in the process, recognizing that the pain is fleeting and that this too shall pass, even when it hurts. And if they are the ones who are walking away from a connection simply because it's not the greatest one for them, they are not stringing anyone along. They're setting them free, letting them be who they are and find the best fit for them. If you're being fully honest with yourself, where do you find yourself on the graph? Where do you desire to be? Are you willing to put in the work it requires to accomplish that goal? Are you ready to choose yourself and attract the person you desire more than anything? It's not easy, but it will be worth it. The summer of 2024, I experienced a secure dynamic for the first time in my life, and it was hands-on the happiest experience of my life. We fell in love and we loved loudly. It was beautiful. We communicated well, and we had so much fun together. The summer fling of my dreams. Due to long-term plans of mine to move back to the US after Greece, where this love found place, we were more or less forced to deprioritize the relationship and parted ways. Although it was devastating and sad, still kind of is. The beautiful memories outweighs it all. I was willing to experience all the love this relationship had to offer, knowing the risk of it ending from the get-go. And when the inevitable end arrived, I kept the mantra, what would a secure person do? What would a secure person do? With every decision that I made from that point on. That allowed me to accept the situation for what it was, and yet cherish all the love that found place. I fully adore and love this person, but for now, we can't be together. This is where I'm able to approach this from a secure standpoint. I trust that what's meant to be will be, and that God's plan for my life is perfect. The love I seek, I will find when the time is right, and God's timing is everything. If it's this person, if it's someone else, trusting this allows me to let go of control and enjoy the journey from exactly where I am. But remember what I said, the process is not linear. 2 steps forward and 1 step backwards is still progress. Because even in this situation, I did fall short to my own habits and old behaviors. When I recognized that there was a slight chance that we might get back together. I took that chance, even though I knew that it was going to be harder. And even though I knew that there was a chance that it would end eventually due to other circumstances as well. And when he then was the one to break things off, I did find myself in a situation where I was latching on a little bit. And that's where the mantra was incredibly important. Even in this situation, we did meet again after 4 months of being apart and rekindled for a minute. And although that time we spent together was absolutely perfect, of course, he ripped up old wounds and made it harder to walk away again. 2 steps forward and 1 step backward is still progress. And I find solace in knowing that my past relationship lasted over 3 years and I couldn't break off. And this was a process of in the span of a few weeks. So that is major progress in my universe. I am so proud of myself. But I also want to acknowledge something. There's something about not finding solace in other people's stories. Because somehow we want to be the exception to the rule. Somehow we hope that our story is unique and so special that we are not following some sort of script on how things are going to go. You know, we want what we want and we want it fast and we want it now. We want the shortcut. So we fall short and we fall into all the patterns and behaviors. But as long as we stay on the course and continue to make forward momentum, we'll surely get there. Because at the end of the day, to me, getting married is a non-negotiable. Eventually having kids, creating a family in my marriage is also a non-negotiable. If the general idea of humanity is to continue to build life, I have no other reason to believe that the purpose of life is just that, building life. Not because of this logic, but also because I crave it. I find myself believing that, certainly for me, I believe that women thrive in the role as nurturers and men thrive in the roles as providers. I'm not saying people cannot be happy in each other's dynamics in other ways. People have their own set of values and expectations of life, but I am stating that this is what I want. It is a lot of power in at least recognizing what you want. Because how are you going to attract the right person for you if you haven't even established what that is? I'm not saying that everyone should get married or that everyone should have children. I don't know what everyone's purpose of life is. I just know that it's human nature to some extent. I'm not going to go ahead and claim that everyone should do this or should do that. But at least I know that this is what I want. And I know what direction that I am headed in. And I strongly encourage you to go inwards. Recognize, what do you want? Because getting to know yourself better is going to help you establish exactly that. And then, and only then, do you have direction and purpose in life. So stay curious and get to know yourself better.
If you want to come share your version of how your attachment style manifested itself in your love life, please email me on magsmindset@gmail.com. I can't wait to hear from you.